Here is part 4 of the ON3 turbo install. Everything's together. The wiring is all done on the car. See, there's no wires there. Everything's clear there. So I've got my transmission jack over here. I'm going to pull it, I'm going to lift the motor up off the engine stand with the engine hoist right there, and then I'm going to move this transmission over to it and bolt them together. I've got the flywheel put on, torqued down, got the little adapter for the 400, and here's the new converter. Open it up. I'll get it installed and get them put together. It's ready to go in the car. I put one chain down here by the trans, and I let that hang lower, so it's going to hang on an angle. So hopefully I can angle it right down into here and push it back into there, and then get the transmission bolts mounted up underneath. I may have to put a jack on the bottom side to help it roll back, but we'll see how it goes. Making slow progress. It's just me by myself, so it takes me a little bit. I had to loosen that rear chain to let that transmission go lower to fit down underneath the hole. Hopefully I'll be able to get this above that radiator support and start letting it down. The motor is in and mounted up. The driver's side motor mount bolt was a little hard to get to. I got to it from the bottom with a wrench. This one over here was pretty easy to reach. And I had to extend this harness a little bit to reach. Well, you don't have to cut it or nothing, but I actually had to, I pulled the clips out, unhooked it all and pulled it forward. Then I moved the clips back and put them back in. So that gave me about another inch. And that let everything reach over here by the PCM. I'm fixing to put the intake manifold on now, so I'll get that installed, and after that I'll go down and start getting the exhaust and stuff put on. I'm starting to put my exhaust on here. See where I connected it to the downpipe. It barely fit here with that Turbo 400 having a bigger housing, but the steering shaft there where they cut out, I had to spin this last little piece. They've got another clamp there that lets you spin just that little end piece, and that let me move it to where it barely cleared. There's a little gap between there, and it does not touch the steering shaft. So everything worked out good there. The oil drains, I did end up using the 90s. It looked a little different once it got put in and the alternator was put in. You can see it runs forward and it comes along, comes out right here and goes up to that turbo, and the other one comes right down here and goes right back there, and it's a 90 as well. You can see it back there. Everything seems to be working pretty good so far. The only thing that I've got hitting just a little bit is where that clamp is right there. I'll have to make some small adjustments to try and clear that. It barely touches it. So after that, it's just put the exhaust on and a few small little things and it'll be finished up. Next, I'm ready to get my injectors put in. These are the FIC 1200s. I haven't used FICs before, but I've heard pretty good things about them. These are the billet rails with the 8AN ends on it. So I'll get these installed. If you do have the fuel injector clinic injectors, you can see that plug there is not the same as the ones on the Mustang. So you will need to have these adapting clips to adapt from the injector to the Mustang's plug. I've just started installing the intercooler brackets. On the one on the driver's side, you can see where I actually had to trim it a little bit. Had to go in to clear that frame. And on this side, I didn't have to trim anything. Everything fit good. So I'm gonna get those nuts put on. Then the intercooler will bolt to those brackets right there through those holes. I've got the intercooler mounted. It actually fit pretty good, even with my added on transcooler that I have for my Turbo 400. Fit right behind there. Holes fit good. So no issues at all there. Everything looks good. I've got all the charge piping on except the one that comes right here to the intake. You can see this side has a straight one. This one here has the curved one. So I'll get the radiator stuff installed next and hopefully get it started. I've got everything finished up, oil put in the trans, oil in the motor, all the lines hooked up. So I'm fixing to get my tune flashed into it, my base tune, so I can get it started. So I'll get that flashed in now. I've got my base tune flashed in now, so I'll go ahead and crank it up. I've put about 100 miles on it now. I've been driving for a little while. So I'm still running conventional oil, just kind of barely getting into boost a little bit. And I can't boost much because my stock fuel rails, or not my stock ones, my aftermarket fuel rails, actually the lines aren't here yet for those, the fuel lines. So I had to put my stock rails back on and my stock pump, so I'm really limited on fuel, but it allows me to at least get the motor broken. So I'll let you hear it. It's a lot louder than that low mount setup was. These turbos scream when they're on top. I've still got to go back and put the hood and everything on, but so far everything seems pretty good. As far as the kit itself, the ON3 kit, I can't complain at all about fitment. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I was actually really impressed with it. And the way, I like the placement of the turbos better than, for instance, the Helion kit, where they turn sideways. I prefer them where they're at right now. So this will finish this video, and next one hopefully has my fuel system install. I'm building my own fuel system. So I gotta have it ready for next weekend for takeovers where I'll be running it. So hopefully it runs some good times.